So I'm Deborah Hamilton, and here you are with me on the MAAP plan. I was telling everyone that I'm currently at a webinar that I'm hosting for speaking the right words, which clearly is what we want to do when we're putting a plan together for our pets. Also, this week, I was part of the National Dog Show Therapy Dog Symposium, which also put together a program to help people who have done so much with their dogs. We had Cindy Otto talking about training dogs to be forensic animals for COVID. It just was a phenomenal program. And when I spoke, I said to them, you've done so much with your dogs. Have you made a plan in writing for the care of your pet if something should happen to you? And now that we're in the midst of the second wave of COVID, we really need to make sure that if something happens to us, we have a plan in place. So I'm just so thrilled to see everybody. I'm going to tell everybody the MAAP plan again because people are listening to this recording. So I want to make sure they understand what MAAP stands for, because it is a 4-stage plan. You want to make the plan. So that just means talk about where you want your pets to end up, whether it's a dog, a cat, a horse, a bird, fish, reptiles. I mean, if you don't make a plan for where they're going to end up, then they don't have a plan of where they're going if something happens to you short or long term. And then you really need to appoint caregivers, not just have a glass of wine with someone. Hi, Connie, how are you? Would you take my dogs if something happens to me? And Connie says, oh, sure. And Deborah, you take my dogs if something happens to me. And I go, oh, yeah, sure. Well, with COVID, that doesn't work well anymore because Connie's in California and I'm in New York. In the old days, we could have just said, okay, I'll be there in 3 or 4 days. I'll fly out. I'll rent a car. I'll drive back. You can't do that in COVID anymore. You are in quarantine. You're in lockdown. So you really need to think about this. So when you are appointing caregivers, you have to have one that lives really almost right next door. Then, of course, there's the part where I harp and harp and harp, and some people who've been here every week know it's about addressing the needs of your pet, because nobody knows your pet as well as you do. Are they afraid of lightning and thunder? Do they take pills easy, or do you have to sneak them down their throat, or do just give up, shove it down their throat because they'll pick it out of cream cheese? These are things that the caregiver would be so grateful to know about your pet. And then finally, after you make this wonderful plan, you want to make sure that you publish it, because if you stick it in a drawer, then who's ever going to run your home while you're gone, if say you break something or you get sick, or disperse your home if God forbid you pass away, if they don't know where it is, if they don't know who is supposed to get the animals will not go where you want them to go. So it really is important to navigate that journey your pet takes when you can't care for it. It's a document that you put together, take to your trust and estate attorney and say, I want this incorporated in my will, and I want this incorporated in my pet trust. Because quite frankly, if it is only in your will, I just want you to make sure you die. Because if you don't die, that plan doesn't come to fruition. If you have Alzheimer's, or you break something, or you're paralyzed, or whatever happens, you have a stroke. If your plan isn't something that comes to fruition short-term, long-term, it isn't the best plan for your pets. So now that I've scared the bejesus out of everyone, not my intent, but really, yeah, my intent, I want to check in with everybody. So Connie, how's everything out in California? You're not burning anymore. I think you're not burning.
No, in fact, if you'll notice, I'm in a long sleeve turtleneck and a fleece vest from my Wheaton Club.
Yeah.
But and it is quite cold, and the heat's been going on and off all day. But we are, speaking of the COVID bug, we are back in very bad shape here throughout the state. And of course, I'm in LA County, which is the biggest county as far as the geographic size in the country, biggest county government in the country, and we are on fire with COVID. In fact, the county government is right now deliberating whether or not we are going back into lockdown. They have very severe restrictions on continued business operations, even more strict than they were before, going into effect Friday. But they're really talking about, no kidding, lockdown. and the entire state. 41 out of our 58 counties have moved back into the most restrictive tier as far as business openings and societal openings. So we're not good. In LA, there is now and I believe it's statewide now, there's a 14-day quarantine for anybody coming into the state, including returning California residents trying to come home. So you come into the state, they'll let you in, but you got to go into quarantine for 2 weeks. So it's pretty bad. But other than that, we're doing fine. There is one crazy kennel club that is having a confirmation show on December 5th out in Riverside County, which again is in the most restrictive category. We are entered, but if things continue the way they are, my boy Casey and I are staying home.
Yeah.
And in fact, there are 3 judges on the judging panel who are coming in from New Jersey, Kentucky, and the Denver area. So, they might not even be able to make it into the state.
No, I know. It's a big question. And, there are a lot of confirmation shows going on, and some of them are, I guess, successfully navigating the protocols.
Yes.
It's crazy. So let me check in with Heather. Welcome, Heather. I think this is your first time, long time. No, I'm only kidding. Your first time. How's everything going?
Well, I was in the symposium yesterday and enjoyed your piece, so wanted to join this. Obviously, it's a topic we don't often think about, and I'm intrigued.
We don't ever think about,
right? Or we don't want to, do we?
Yeah.
So, I was definitely intrigued to learn more and hear more from you. I'm in Oregon, so I'm in the same position as Connie. We are. This is Drake.
Hi, Drake. Aren't you? He's got his coat on too.
He's got his jammies on. It's cold and rainy, but we're in the same position of going back into lockdown. Actually, our next confirmation show was just shut down for December 5th. Everything's canceled now, so we're learning our backyard training again and our brain games. So, but anyway, I'm intrigued with the topic and working on my plan now.
Oh, good.
In case anything happens. Hopefully it doesn't, but as I say, hope for the best, plan for the worst. So
absolutely. That's why we're all here. Thank you so much. Yeah, it is sort of a little topic unfriendly. However, we make it fun because we really do think about the things that we need to get in place, and sometimes our dogs are welcomed by the neighbors and sometimes they aren't. So how do we find somebody who lives next door who might be able to at least raise their hand if, God forbid, we fall down and break something and have to be hauled off? If you live with someone like my husband, he told me he wouldn't take care of the dogs because he was taking care of me. But then when he broke his shoulder, I recognized, I really didn't want to take care of the dogs. I wanted to take care of him. So I opted to have my MAAP plan come into fruition, even though I wasn't injured, because it gave me that peace of mind that if I got stuck at the hospital with him or I got stuck at a doctor's appointment with him, that there would be someone who I knew who knew that this protocol was happening. We call it, like I said the other day, the 7 Ds, death, divorce, disaster, disease, delay, dementia, and I think there's another one, but I might have missed it. So I'm so glad you're here. And we talk about this all the time, and we talk about what we're doing in this period to keep our pets healthy and safe and to keep us healthy and safe. I know that Thanksgiving is going to be an interesting time, and whether or not we are going to take the risk of moving forward and seeing family or maybe wait till next year is a personal question. I always say it's always personal. However, when we're taking our dogs, understanding that if something occurs, that would be in need of a plan. So let me hop over. Sally, how are things going?
Things are great. I actually prepared the world's biggest food basket for the Chief Animal Control Officer, Audrey McKay, here in New Milford, Connecticut. Her dog's having tummy issues, won't eat a thing. And I said, I have a dog that just went through that, so I will prepare every single bundle for you. And she picked it up, and I just heard that she's doing a little bit better, but she's on my MAP plan. She's the number one person for immediate, like if something happens to me, she's right there. She's not the full-time, long-term person, but I know she'll be here immediately for me. And so I was there immediately for her when her dog had a tummy ache.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we've spoken over the weeks about how we need to have somebody who's right there, who has the ability to raise their hand if, God forbid, something happens to us and either we live alone or whomever we live with isn't there and we're, being hauled off. You really need to have a note on your refrigerator, a note in your car, if, God forbid, you have a car accident, identifying if the dogs are with you, who to call. Don't take my dogs to animal care and control. Call these people and they will come and get the dogs. They probably take it to the police station, maybe animal care and control, but you have that immediate response to get your dogs out of the police station, out of prison, or out of animal care and control. And if you're in the hospital, they know that your dogs are home alone. I know that at 9/11, that was a huge issue because people didn't know 9/11 was going to happen here in New York, and a lot of animals were left for a very long time by themselves. And then going forward to COVID, they've been having a ton of information regarding how these animals are left behind when somebody just goes to the hospital and doesn't know their blood oxygen level is 20 and are checked into the hospital and they've made no plans for the care of their pets. So, it may be that you just simply, trip and fall, which I've done, broke my ankle, which is why this program got written, or you're suffering from COVID, you don't know it, and you go to the doctors and you're, immediately admitted. You really want to know that everything is okay and taken care of for your pets immediately. I know that I've told this story before, but it bears repeating. An older woman who had a 9-year-old Afghan went to the hospital because she broke her hip. And when she got out of rehab, her dog had not only gone from animal care and control, she had no family and no plan and nothing on the fridge. So Heather, I know everybody here has their note on the refrigerator. So the first thing you have to do, your first assignment, is to put a note on the refrigerator and have a note in your car that states who is the person to call if, God forbid, anything happens to me. Because otherwise they go to animal care and control. They're kept for whatever the statutory limit is. It can be anywhere from 3 to 7 days. Then it goes to a rescue. And if it's placed out of the rescue, you cannot get that dog back.
Oh, that's scary.
So I always say.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Heather, you mentioned that you're training for confirmation. If your dog, and I've done breed rescue, if your dog goes to animal care and control and it is intact,
that's my first thought. Yeah, it's like, God, that would be a nightmare. That would be a nightmare.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you really need to know what the laws in the area you're going to. So you're in Oregon, you travel to California, you have to know what the laws are in California if they're picked up. I always say that Westminster is in the most unfriendly city in the universe, because if your dog's picked up by animal care and control, if it gets away from you, say in Central Park, unless it's been in an AKC event in the last 12 months, they will not return it to you without having it altered or spayed.
Wow.
So,
even hypothetically, well, his breeder is actually in New York. So let's say we traveled there for a show, would they still take him?
Well, if he's lost,
only if there's not a note with him or something, then they just automatically take them to.
Well, he has it. The law is. I was told by my law friends that my dogs are protected. So I looked at the law, and the law actually says that you need to have been participating in an AKC event for at least 12 months prior. So that knocks out our young puppies who have not yet been able to go to a dog show, right? So if they're below 6 months, or if there are older big winning stud dogs that haven't been in a show because their show career is over, they're just being used as a stud dog. So for me, it was a nightmare, and no one in the room really thought that was a problem. And I said, oh yeah, it's a big problem, because a lot of stud dogs come in for Westminster, may not enter, but would be susceptible to this. So you always want to know where you're going, what the laws are. So always look them up. and always have a note in the car that says, listen, if something happens to me, call this person.
Oh, sorry.
There he is. Have 3 people.
Oh, mute.
Because you want to have somebody, I was driving to North Carolina. I had people in every state that if something happened to me, I would be able to take care of my dogs because that was what was most important to me. God, what did I do? Who knows what I did? I did something. Ah, there you are. So it really is imperative. People say, well, I have my note in my wallet, and that's absolutely wonderful. Absolutely have your note in your wallet. But I want everything to be idiot proof. Hi, baby. I want everything to be idiot proof. So I don't want anybody to have to look for anything. In fact, I just took my dog to North Carolina. As I said, I had everybody in the States, and I had it taped to my dashboard. So they never had to look in my purse or my wallet. His name is Junie. This is who you call. And, don't take them to animal care and control. They will come to you within 2 or 3 hours because I always made sure. And because you're in the conformation world, your breeder or you will know people in every state you're going through. And so, so Connie and Sally, anything you're doing for Thanksgiving that's going to impact the dogs?
Staying put.
Yeah, me too. Me
Yeah,
too.
same here. We're staying put. Absolutely, maybe an extra walk. That's it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some people are driving. They think it's safer. Heather, are you going anywhere for Thanksgiving?
In Oregon, our governor on Friday actually put us in a lockdown, so we're not allowed to gather for Thanksgiving. We weren't going to anyway. I usually work on Thanksgiving, so we're just at home. There's just 2 of us, but you can't have more than 6 people in a household right now. So hopefully no big Thanksgiving plans around here.
I know there's no big Thanksgiving plans around here, but if anyone listening to the recording, because we have a lot of people listening to the recording, if you are traveling, make sure that you know where the rest stops are, make sure that you bring disinfectant, and also make sure that the people you're visiting are okay with your dog being with them, or make sure that if they're coming with their dog because they might not have a caregiver, that your dog's good with the other dog, and make those plans up front because it really is important to make sure that all the pets are going to get along if they're going to be together, and if they're not, make a plan for how to care for them if that's the case, because it really is absolutely important. So I apologize to everyone. First of all, next Wednesday, we're going to take Wednesday off. I'm so glad you got here, Heather, because I gave the wrong date. I said November 11th because I'm still in last week and it was this week. So I apologize. And next week, we're going to take it off because it's pre-Thanksgiving and I figure everybody will be, well, maybe they'll need it, but I think probably I'll take next Wednesday off because I'll need it. So we'll reconvene on December 2nd for our next MAAP program. I'm sorry for making this short, but it's Q&A time at the webinar and I'm supposed to be there, I think.
Uh-oh.
But I wanted to make sure. So if anybody needs any more information, please don't hesitate to write me. On the website, it's the MAAP plan blueprint, and there's the MAAP plan for COVID, because we really do want to make sure that you do those 4 things. You have to make your plan. So sit down and write what you'd like to have happen to your dogs, address the needs of your pet. Think of those caregivers. And if you co-own, Heather, you have to really recognize asking your co-owner now about what the next steps are would be really important. And then publish it. So who do you publish it with? I know that Connie and Sally know, but you publish it with all the caregivers. You publish it with your family. You publish it with your veterinarian, and you publish it with your attorney, because that way, the redundancy will be intact. I know that Connie's already done it. I know that Sally's already done it. So now we'll help you do it as well so that you have peace of mind going forward.
Fine.
Thank you so much for coming. I hope we see you on the 2nd. And everyone have a very safe and happy Thanksgiving.
You also, to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And give everybody a kiss, especially the Wheatons, the Irish, the Doberman, and I'll kiss you guys for you.
Mwah.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
You
Happy
too.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.